This video is going to be a disaster.
Here we go.
Let's face it, you can't avoid it. You have to work with people on the other side. And yes, I mean the dark side. Yes, Revit.
Here we go.
Hi, I'm the Colorblind Architect. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest friction points for architects using Archicad, and that is working with your engineer who ends up being stuck in Revit, of course, because that's where most of the engineers in the United States are. They're using Revit or AutoCAD, and AutoCAD's not too bad. You just save out a DWG file and they open it up, great. It's not the best though, because to really see the true benefit of building information modeling, or BIM, ideally we're all on the same platform. And actually that's something that Autodesk has been selling for years, is the idea of everybody being on the Revit platform. But I don't like Revit. You might say. I know I do. I look at Revit and I think, wow, this is a really trashy program. Now, granted, it's not. It's an amazing program. It does a lot of really amazing stuff. But it has its flaws. It is not tuned to the needs of architects. So today, I'm going to illustrate a little bit about how to go back and forth in between Archicad and Revit. And to do so, I'm going to start with this file here. This was a tire shop that I did a couple years ago, and as you can see, all in Archicad, and inside you can see that I've even modeled in a bunch of the stuff, structure and stuff like that, although some stuff is missing, but that's okay. For the purposes of today's discussion, let's just go ahead and get started. Now, the first step, if you're going to be sending a file to an engineer in Revit, is you need to save out an IFC file. Now, when you go to your Save As dialog, I do want to point out that there is an option to save it to Revit project file. Now, if you do that, I want to make it very clear, this is not the ideal way of doing it, because when you save it out to Revit, unfortunately, because of the way Autodesk has set up the API for working with Revit files, they've only enabled the cross-transfer of three-dimensional data. It doesn't include all the BIM information, things like, U factor on your windows and, your R value on your insulation. That kind of information is lost as you transfer it across. It is only three-dimensional data. Now, the best way to send it, which unfortunately still has some loss of data, is the IFC method. Now, IFC, or Industry Foundation Classes, it's a type of file that's designed specifically for this cross-platform exchange of data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this into just on the desktop, and instead of it being okay, and I guess we're going to just save it as a general export. Now, I thought that I had additional translators built into this, but that's okay. For right now, that's what we're going to save it, and voila. Now, there are other translators that actually specifically focus on Revit, flavored for both Revit for structure and also Revit for MEP. I do not know all the details of what is in those translation matrices, but you can try them out with your engineer and see which one works best. Now, when you're working with your engineer, it's important to have them first go to this website. Now, this website right here is graphisoft.com/downloads/interoperability. Underneath this, you can find some plugins for Revit written by Graphisoft. Now, The reason why you want to get these is because this will allow you to have the best quality transition from Archicad to Revit and Revit back to Archicad by helping Revit not be such a jerk to Archicad. Go ahead and download this, install this to Revit. Great. I have already opened up Revit, and what we're going to do is we're going to go here to the File menu, and we're going to go to Import an IFC file. Now, if you have the plugin installed, there's actually a separate plugin that you'll actually use within Revit, you know, a separate way of doing it. Unfortunately, because I'm on Revit using Parallels on a Mac, I don't think the plugin works in that environment. So if you are on Windows, it should work just fine. But because this is Windows 11 for ARM loaded onto a MacBook Pro, it's not a 100% operation. So I'm going to click on Open an IFC file, and then I'm going to go to the desktop folder, and we're going to switch to this date modified, and just go ahead and click on that file and click Open. Now, as you can see, because of Parallels, I've got this little problem here where now I need to go through into my Windows folder. Okay, and so then what I'm going to do is on the desktop and date modified, I'm going to right click on that, and then on Windows 11 you'll notice that they've got the copy. Instead of in the text, they've just got like a little icon right here. So you're going to click there. And then what we need to do, because this is in Parallels, we're going to go to our C drive, users, and documents. And then I'm going to paste it right there. Okay. Once I've done that, then I can go back to computer within the Revit dialog. And so this is just an error that seems to be happening with Windows on Parallels. It's not allowing me to access any Mac drives through Revit. I can only do it through the Windows folder, so I have to take Windows folder and then copy it into a location that is only on the Windows portion of the drive. And then once I've done that, then I can get to this IFC file, click Open, and it's going to start opening up the file. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time, but once it gets there, we should have the tire shop in all its glory. Albeit with some things not exactly right. Again, not everything translates okay. Usually doors and windows do okay. Slabs, roofs, yeah, usually they come through sort of okay, but not with all the data. And so this is not a perfect means of transitioning things. And obviously layouts don't come through as well, which is a little bit annoying, but it would be nice. But that's why anytime you work with an engineer on Revit as an Archicad user, you should go ahead and save out the layouts to PDF, and I also do it to DWG. That way, just in case something doesn't come through, they still have that data. But this method, now at least they've got a model that they can base their work off of. So this is going to take a little while. So we're just going to play a little happy music for a moment while we wait for this to come through. Of course. That's my dog. Okay, it looks like it's almost done. Nope, still working. Alright, this is fun. This is not a process that you want to be doing too often. Probably just a couple times per project, because this can be really painful. Still working, still working. Now, of course, one of the things that we can do while we're waiting for this, when you're bringing a file over from Revit, if all you need is to see the geometry, you can open up in Archicad a Revit file directly. So in this case, I'm just going to go to my desktop, date modified, switch this to Revit files. Oh, that's right. You cannot do it through this dialog. Actually, that's right. You go to interoperability. No, you still can't do it there. So then what you would do is you would go to place hotlink, and you'd select the module, go from file, okay. So as you can see, there's one problem. We need a file that is a 2015 to a 2021 version of Revit. I'm actually running Revit 2022, and the file that I just tried to open up is actually prior to Revit 2015, so I cannot open up that file. So let's try that again, this time with a Revit file, hopefully from Revit version 2015. We will see if this is actually a Revit 2015 file. This is actually a Revit file that I have from a project that was in 2015, so I'm hoping that it is actually that. And no, it does not look like it is actually compatible, and I'm still waiting on Revit to go. It's still not done. So let's see if I have any IFC files. I do believe I have an IFC file that should work. Okay. I should have come more prepared. Okay. Now let's try opening up an IFC that came from a Revit file. So in the case of in the case of an IFC file, you can actually open them up from IFC without having to import them like XREF them like you do with Revit files. So here we go. We're gonna go to this project folder, and we're gonna do this as a Revit structure import, and I'm gonna go ahead and click open and see what comes of this. And again, the Revit file is still not, Revit is still not completed its import of that file. In this case, we want to use the embedded library. In general, when you're bringing something in from Revit, you're going to want to use the embedded library. Okay, just go through this list, just check to make sure that we like everything that's checked and not checked. And we're gonna go ahead and click OK, see what happens. And of course, now we're waiting again. So again, pain points. Funny thing is, I had originally started this video thinking, hey, I'm going to send out an IFC file from Archicad, open it up in Revit, and then do some work in that Revit file and then send it back. I thought, oh yeah, that shouldn't take too much time. Boy, was I wrong. Okay, so we are seeing something in the floor plan view within Archicad, and this was indeed a Revit export. This was not Archicad. So the fact that it's showing up is very encouraging. It proves that yes, this process does actually work, and we now have the Revit file opened up. Now let's take a look a little closer at what we actually have in this file. So first thing you'll note when we bring in a Revit file through via the IFC process, first thing you'll notice, walls are actually walls. This is very exciting because that's what you want to see. Now in this case, yes, this door, it's actually a door. Now why is it showing up behind this room? So remember in Revit, we've got rooms. Oh, actually this is ceilings. Okay, so these are ceilings that are showing up and they're hiding the door. So I'm going to do an order of operations and just send that to the back. So now you can see the door is actually a door. Isn't that fantastic? Okay. Now it looks like this door has a door also an opening. So that's interesting. Some different panel parts here. We've got slabs. Okay, so it looks like the geometry came in fine, and like I said, there are doors and windows that came through. Unfortunately, this curtain wall, there's a curtain wall here from Revit, and it appears it came through as just an object. That's disappointing. Let's take a look to see how it came through on the 3D. Now, mind you, this particular project was focused on an addition to a hospital, so. But as you can see, we've got the curtain wall. Like I said, it came through as objects, but that's okay. At least the geometry is pretty good there. And yeah, so everything seems to be there. So that's great. And even the grid elements came through as grids. So not too shabby. I mean, you can actually work with this. I mean, it's obviously not perfect, but you know, especially if you link this as an XREF, you'd be able to more easily just trace over the stuff, or if you bring it in like this, you can actually convert these elements into it. And there's a couple different ways of doing that. So like I said, you can open up that file. You can also XREF IFCs, or you can go to interoperability, merge, and merge with file. And that's another way of you can do it. So like if you have a template file that you want to use, you can actually use that template file as the basis for your work and then bring in the Revit file. Now, of course, we still don't have we still don't have Revit open up yet. Now, it does say that it's at 95% here. So we've talked about how to export the IFC from Archicad and also import the IFC. Now, of course, we're hoping that any minute now we're going to be able to see on Revit the Archicad file opened up into it. Okay, after a long wait, almost a half an hour in processing time, we finally have the Archicad created IFC file in Revit. Okay, let's take a look. We've got 28 warnings. Fortunately, none of them are errors, but let's just see. We've got a Boolean error cutting. And so we're just going to flip these, and okay, a lot of short segments. Oh, what was that last one? Okay. Self-intersecting, overlapping floors. highlighted walls. Okay, so none of these are too critical for me right now. So let's go ahead and explore what content we have from Revit. From Archicad in Revit. Okay, so first thing, grids. Okay, good. The grids came through as grids, and looks like walls are coming through as walls. That's good. What about doors? Yeah, we've got doors. They're coming through as doors. Unfortunately, it does appear that they are in the closed position. But notice this, look at the detail. Thanks to Archicad, we actually have the handles and everything on here. So a little bit more fancy than what Revit would normally have. Okay, we've got the sink. This is the wall-hung lavatory. Okay, you can see that it's all triangulated, but came through. We've got the toilet. Okay, let's see about the stairs. Are the stairs stairs, or are they a generic model? They're a generic model. Okay. Now granted, this tire rack here, this was a SketchUp part that I had brought into Archicad, and of course that will continue to be a mesh object. What about our curtain walls? Looks like this is coming through as a window. This is actually a curtain wall, and it came through as a wall, even though it is drawn in as a curtain wall element on Archicad. Okay. And generic models for the parking. So let's go into 3D and see how this came through. Now remember, this is an Archicad file that was saved out as an IFC and put into Revit. Revit is really struggling with this. It is not handling this all that smoothly. Now, I'm sure part of that is because a lot of it got converted as mesh items, and mesh items, Revit's never been all that good with handling, complex 3D elements. Definitely not as well as Archicad is. So let's see how it orbits. Okay, and this is one of the things I hate about Revit. Look at this. It's in axonometric mode, and that is the standard way of functioning within Revit. It drives me nuts. And then also look at that lag, that jumpiness. And I wonder, is there a way, can we switch this 3D view into a perspective mode? Oh, here we go. Projection mode, perspective. Again, like I said, I hate Revit. It is such a pain to use. But that's okay. That's my opinion. And of course you can hear my dog running on the floor above me. I'm in the basement. Zoom to fit. Okay, this is not a good look for you, Autodesk. Okay, so we went into perspective mode, and wow, this is painfully slow. Might I remind you, Archicad has been edit in perspective mode for at least 20 years. Revit did not add edit in perspective mode until version 2015. Yeah, like I said, not a good look for Autodesk. They have definitely been failing on this regard. Okay, so this is obviously not working. This is way too slow to be able to function, so I'm gonna have to switch back to axonometric mode or as Autodesk has termed it, orthographic, which, okay. Everybody else calls it axonometric, but that's okay. Wow. This is painfully slow. Okay, so lesson learned here. Do not go into perspective mode in Revit. It will kill you. I mean, like, literally, this is just, like, stupid slow. I mean, okay, for you architects that use Revit still, how do you function with this piece of trash software? I mean, oh my god, this is horrible. Oh, still, oh, this is so annoying. Okay, come on. Oh, there, finally. This piece of trash software called Revit. Again, I do not know how you Revit users... I just don't understand how you tolerate this trash. I mean, especially since they're forcing you to pay like $350 to $400 a month for this trash. I mean, like, seriously? Okay, so here we go. Let's also switch this to a resolution that doesn't suck. Okay, well. So, let's take a look. So we've got structural framing for these parapet caps. In Revit, I thought I drew those, in Archicad, I thought I drew those as complex profile walls, but I might have done them as beams, but I thought I did them as walls. Okay, so that's coming through as a structural framing element. What about this? This should be a wall here. Okay, at least that's coming through as a wall. Okay, curtain wall's coming in as wall instead of curtain wall, so that's not too good. But at least it's there. The geometry's there. Do I dare change this to shaded? Yeah, let's go for it. Let's try it. We're gonna switch to shaded mode, because I seem to want to be punished. Okay, let's go to realistic, which, by the way, realistic in perspective mode is the baseline. That's the normal way that you're editing in Archicad. And this Revit software is struggling to put it into that mode. Now, granted, this is an IFC import into Revit, so I guess I should be somewhat fair, but this is ridiculous. And so now I'm kind of understanding the pain that my engineers feel when they bring in these models, and there is so much more detail that I can fit into an Archicad model than what I can fit into a Revit model. So much more detail, and Revit just doesn't handle it very well. And so I'm just shocked. Like, I thought by 2022 that our Autodesk would have made a lot more improvements, but this is really no better than the 2015 version of Revit, which was the last one that I used on a regular basis. This is horrible. But hey, at least you're able to open up the model. The model does exist. It's there. Oh, this is supposed to be realistic. Oh, this is trash. It didn't bring any of the textures. Now, part of that could have been I didn't get to use the plugin from Graphisoft because, like I said, this is running on a Mac, so that could be the problem. But yeah, this is terrible. So let's at least go back to the floor plan. And yeah, so as you can see, there's no room tags showing up. There's no labels, there's no dimensions, but at least the model's there. And at least yeah, at least you can see it and you can interact with it. So this way, if you are an engineer and you are bringing in an IFC that was saved out from Archicad, then you can function and you can participate in the project. So when you're sending the IFC back to Archicad, you would need to be able to create an IFC. And that's the part that I'm not sure. Okay, that's right. You go to export, go to IFC, and then you would just go ahead and save it where you want to save it, and you can modify your setup. Then click export. We're not going to do that for right now, but that is basically how it would go back to you on the Archicad side, so that you can open it up as an XREF within your model. And so if your engineers are actually using Revit, they can save out the IFC file. I've actually done this with my engineers, and it actually works just fine. And I'm actually able to see ductwork and electrical outlets and everything that my MEP engineers have produced. And so right at the end of what I was recording on my GoPro, the SD card actually filled up. I literally filled up a 128 gigabyte SD card because I was waiting so long for Revit to get its act together and actually finish. Here's my takeaway. Revit sucks. Yes, it does. And I challenge any of you Revit users, if you've never tried Archicad, put up or shut up. You need to actually try it out, play around with it, and learn it before you criticize it compared to Revit. Revit, I've used Revit extensively, and I've also used Archicad extensively, and I can tell you right now, Archicad beats it hands down. Now, I didn't mean for this video to be a comparison video between Archicad and Revit. I mostly just wanted to show how you can actually function back and forth between the two, so that you and your engineers can actually function together if you're on the different platforms. Now, if you're working with another architect who's using Revit or vice versa, you're working with an architect who's using Archicad, hopefully this has been helpful. But honestly, yeah, definitely there's a lot of documentation out there that you should look into. It is totally doable. Like I said, it is a good, it's great that there's this functionality now that you can actually work together. Is it perfect? No, it's far from perfect. There's a lot of flaws. There's a lot of friction. And honestly, on small projects, I usually just tell my engineers, just use AutoCAD back and forth with me. That's going to be fine. I don't need the full model. If it's a more complex model, yeah. Complex buildings where you have a lot of clash detection needed so that you can make sure that the building is actually going to be able to be constructed the way it was designed. Absolutely, yes. Go through this pain so that you can find those things. But yeah, it's painful. It is a painful process. Hopefully I'm going to be getting back to doing more videos. It's been a very tough past couple months, just extremely busy, tons going on, just tons going on with my work. I do these as a public service. I really just do it because I like helping other people. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you, and hopefully it will help you and your engineers, or vice versa. If you are an engineer watching this, looking to be able to work with Archicad, to be able to work with your architect, great. If not, let me know in the comments ask me what your pain points are, and I'd be happy to look into it and try to create another video. I mean, it's one of the things that I enjoy about these videos, is being able to help others, and especially seeing those comments and seeing that it's actually helping people. That actually makes me really happy. And by the way, now I'm over 500 subscribers. Don't know how, but thank you. Keep liking and subscribing, but and also keep commenting on things that you'd like to see me cover, and hopefully I can, if I don't know the answer, find out and be able to put together a video that will help you. In the meantime, stay strong, stay healthy, and peace out. From the Colorblind Architect, goodbye.